So, Laura, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Will, for having me. I feel like this is a long time coming.
Absolutely. one of my original planned guests, but I've saved you till after our hiatus. So
Yeah.
tell me, where am I talking to you from? I obviously know, but why don't you tell the listeners?
Yeah, so I'm in a very glamorous location
Hmm.
actually. Pre-COVID, this was our back storage room. Post-COVID, as we are out of that scenario, hopefully now, it is now our digital studio at the gym. So I've got, you can just picture it, I've got squat racks behind me, plates, barbells. The temperature is not fantastic, but so I'm in our all new digital studio, which is just at the back of our main gym.
And tell me about the gym. So for those listeners that don't know.
Yeah, so I'm a director, coach, head of brand at a gym called The Foundry. We're based in London. We've got three sites, one in Vauxhall, one a bit more in the city, in Bank, which has been obviously over the period of time been very, very quiet. And in Old Street, which is just sort of east of London, a bit more residential. So we focus on a group training model in semi-private personal training. So one coach up to four clients, and then we have group classes, etc. Yeah, so it's we're aiming for about 300 members. That's a good place, and we're just building that back up now.
Awesome. So full disclosure for people that are listening is the Foundry is my gym in London and my favorite gym. So it's where I train when I am back. And it's actually the original Foundry is right next to my house in London, which made it very, very convenient. And those listeners that have been involved in Shift will recognize the Foundry from our backgrounds of various of our workouts. So we've had a long relationship, but I actually met you at a different gym, right? I think it was at Ministry of Sound Fitness back in the day. Was that when we first kind of made our acquaintance?
Yeah, pretty much. So I think it's one of those that I probably knew you like via social media, or you obviously you're very into fitness and yourself. So I think it's one of those that yes, we finally probably met at Ministry of Sound Fitness, which has a big place in my heart. Sadly, is no longer using the group fitness model. They've got actually a fantastic gym in what they've evolved to now. But yeah, that's where we were.
So take me back to how long you've been in fitness, because as a follower of you, I kind of know your history, but I think it's quite interesting. Like, and why don't you take the listeners through how you got into fitness and your journey up till now? I don't feel that you need to kind of labor over any point, but I often see your posts about how when you started your fitness journey, you were working in an office job and living a quite different lifestyle to the lifestyle you lead now, right?
Very. It's actually mad to think that I kind of feel like, fitness is my job and has been forever, because it kind of feels more me. It's my purpose, let's call it. It's like my calling. But actually, I've been in fitness full time for just over 5 years, which is half the amount of time that I had a previous career. Um,
Hmm.
so I've sort of graduated from university, business studies in marketing in the UK, and started my career at a company called Unilever, which is a big FMCG company. The sort of the company behind brands you should know, like Lynx, those kind of things. Flora. I mean, hopefully you've not done a Lynx all these
Yeah.
days.
Hopefully no one uses it, but you've seen the ads.
But yeah, just sort of a big global company in sales and marketing role. 5 years there. A bit of a hiatus in the Cayman Islands. Maybe I'll talk about that another time. That was like my gap year.
Yeah.
I spent more time underwater than I did above it. And then I was at L'Oreal for 5 years in various sales and marketing roles across brands at L'Oreal Paris, Garnier, Maybelline. And it was just always been my dream, my passion to be in work in fitness. I think if I take myself back to when I left university, I thought, that's the thing to do. I need to get a degree. God knows why but that was just sort of the pressures in and around my schools, etc., college, and it was the done thing to do. And then I had a job at David Lloyd in one of their flagship clubs in Weybridge in Surrey, which is unbelievable. And I worked there in various roles in F&B, in the kids club, just sort of looking up at the PT floor, like, yeah, one day trying to get my experience. And then it's a strange one, really, because I'd like to think I always had quite a lot of confidence, but I just never had the confidence at that stage to go, right, I'm going to get qualified and I'm going to be a personal trainer. I looked at the gym floor, there was no women PTs. You know, certainly if there was, they were 6 foot tall, probably looked Swedish, you know, very, very slim, talking about toning, and it just wasn't me. And I couldn't see myself in the fitness landscape. So fast forward 10 years, I thought, I've absolutely had it now. I'm going to give this a go, because if I don't, I'll regret it forever. And at that time, I was 30. I turned 30, and I was thinking, God, I'm a bit old to do this now, but you know, whatever. Here I am. It was petrifying, and I'm so glad that I did it. But it's not easy. I think, you know, people look at me, what I'm doing today, and, you know, director of one of the best gyms in London, and it didn't come without a lot of hard graft and a lot of uncertainty, I would say.
Yeah, totally. So I want to delve more into kind of how you got to where you are, because you're now a presenter on Fit, which is a massive, big digital fitness platform. You're a director of the Foundry, as you said. You've written a book. You're a speaker at various events. Like, in 5 years, that is a long way to come. But let's wind it back a little bit. I am going to ask about that. But what got you into fitness? Like, what was the step you took? Did you leave your job, or did you do part-time study in PT? Like, what was it that kind of leveraged you out of what you were doing into this?
Yeah, so I've always been sporty. So when I was, without boring you, like when I was 3, no, when I was younger, I played football. I played for a great club in my early teens. Played for Chelsea girls. I played netball. I was into judo. I was in canoe clubs. I was just, my poor parents just, you know, can't everywhere I needed. I just loved team sport. It wasn't necessarily fitness. The fitness part, the training of it, I didn't love. You know, doing laps around the pitch, that shuttle runs, not really my jam. But I loved that, you know, physical pursuit on, you know, for a common goal with a team. So I've always been into that. And then sort of in my later career, I sort of got into running, as probably most women do, because I think, oh God, you know, maybe I was coming out of a breakup in my personal life, and I thought, right, I need to, you know, revenge body to cope with Kardashian, right? So I need to get thin ASAP, because that is how it's done, right? So I started running and running and running. And then I thought, God, this is hard. I don't really enjoy it. So I thought, right, I'm quite extreme. I'm quite an all or nothing person.
Okay.
In this podcast, I thought, that is it. I'm running the London Marathon, because if I commit to that, you know, internally, externally, I'll have to do it, and I'll 100% I'll be thin by the end of it. And I was, and I got to this goal weight that I probably felt overweight at the time, which is ridiculous looking back at photos now. There's nothing of me. 5'2", very slight, probably bad knees. You know, I wasn't as in strength training or whatever. So then I was like, okay, right, I've done this running thing. I'll be honest, I didn't really enjoy it. I had a membership at Virgin Active, which was the gym next to the office at L'Oreal. And I started going to these classes with this unbelievable Les Mills instructor. I just looked and I thought, wow, you are a boss. She had so much energy. I could not work out how she could talk and do the exercise at the same time, as you know very well, Will, in your dancing days as well, that we were about this week. I started going to body pump, and I was like, oh my God, I've got this barbell and I feel like a boss. And we're listening to Pink, and I'm doing the reps, and you know, you start to learn a bit about technique. And I thought, I like this weights business. It feels good. I almost want to start.
So this is something I didn't know about you. So body pump was your entry into lifting.
Yeah.
That's super interesting, because that's obviously not where you are now. And that's something that I don't think I knew before, even though I know you pretty well. And I feel that we've talked a lot about fitness.
Yeah, it's so mad thinking about it now, because like I sort of did the body pumps, you know, I did body attack. That was a bit more chaotic. It was a bit more. I just really thought, you know, this barbell business I really like, and you know, doing the different releases, and that was kind of fun. And it was, you know, big endorphin rush, of course, before I then was stressed to my eyeballs, sat down at an office upstairs, you know, in the wonderful world that is L'Oreal. It was amazing. And then suddenly a friend said to me, listen, I've got a mate who's left his job as a lawyer, and he started this CrossFit gym in Hammersmith over the road. I think it's near your office. And I thought, what is CrossFit? People were trying to get fit and they're just getting really cross. I don't know. I don't know what they're seeing. And I went to a taster class, and I saw this big bad boss woman who was taking this class, and she was muscular, she was athletic, she owned the energy in the room. And I did this taster class, and I saw the light. I was near death. It was body pump on speed with heavier weights, you know, box jumps, all the kit. And I thought, wow, this is it. This is the next step for me. You know, I've completed body pump for now. And
I'm onto the big girl weights now.
yeah, well, do you know, it's difficult because, you know, body pump, it's all in, you know, you start the journey, it's like a roller coaster, you're on it and then you finish, you're like, oh my God, what just happened? Whereas with CrossFit, there was this element of skill and technique that, you know, and gymnastics and maximal strength progressions that I thought, yeah, I think I'm ready for that. So I started CrossFit. And I was that meme that was like, if you do CrossFit and you're vegan, what do you tell people first? Party. I was like, hey, do you know I do CrossFit? And it was like this.
Right. So this is your Instagram origin story too, isn't it?
Exactly. So my Will obviously know where we first met. My Instagram handle was Biceps and Bronzer.
Yeah.
Because at 6 a.m. I took my body genetically took to all this strength training volume quite quickly, and on my shoulders and my traps and my biceps, everything just grew massive. So I sort of grew popping out of my denim shirts that I used to wear after all this running. And yeah, so then I was sort of selling makeup in the day, so Biceps and Bronzer. And I started, you know, posting these really low quality, terrible videos of me doing all these weird things with the barbell. And it just started, people were like, wow, what are you doing? God, that's interesting. Because no one had heard of CrossFit in London 6 years ago. It was a really new thing. I genuinely think there was 10 independent CrossFit boxes when I started.
Yep.
And I really enjoyed it. And then sort of going through that journey myself, I thought, hang on a minute, I'm so enthusiastic, I'm so passionate about all these different types, you know, the early days of sport, you know, the body pump, the endorphin rush, how I felt, then the technique and the community that CrossFit gave me. I want to bring this to as many people as I can. So I started having a little look around at, you know, where can I still don't see myself working the gym floor as a PT at Virgin Active or David, or as much as my experience there. And I think they're great clubs. I needed something a little bit different. And I found the Foundry. I did a class called Strongman. It's now called Strong. We decided to take the man out of it as a woman. Perhaps it wasn't quite fair. So yeah, Strong class, which is modified strongman training, which Will is absolutely a boss.
It is. It's one of my favorite classes. I have to meter my appearances because I get too excited and put my back out. But
that is true. There are times where Will walks in a bit sheepishly, and it's a bicep curl and a up day, isn't it? But yeah, it's modified strongman training is something that has been around for a while. But the co-founders, Ben Gotting and Dave Thomas, of the Foundry, started the gym from sort of a professional athlete background. So they're both ex-rugby, full of injuries. I mean, Ben's had 5 million, sorry, Ben, if you're listening, 5 million knee replacements. He's had lots of operations.
Which makes him very good at dealing with people with injuries. Which is something I would learn. He's nursed me back from slip discs a couple of times.
Yeah, he knows. And you know, Dave, again, sorry, Dave, if you're listening, but his nickname at university, I think, was Hospital Dave. He's had so many sort of, you know, rugby accidents and come off his bike and all sorts of things. So between them, they've had a bit of a ride, and they were passionate about making a place that felt safe, that was community based, and around the essence of where the strong belong. It's not about a place where you have to fit in. It's where you can come as you are and you will belong, you know, in all of your individual glory. And we've got people who are very well trained, good training age, very, very strong. And we've got people who have never set inside of a gym before. And I think that's the beauty of it, really.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's certainly my experience at the Foundry, because I like a bit similar to you. I got into fitness through gyms, teaching classes. Obviously, I was doing Les Mills for years and years. I tried CrossFit, and because of a few biomechanical issues that I've got, CrossFit just doesn't work for me. Like, I just cannot do some of the movements. And I'm also been in fitness for long enough that I'm aware that, you know, doing a snatch is great, but doing a snatch doesn't actually help you to do anything other than do a snatch. And the Foundry was somewhere where I could go and feel like I was doing strength training and achieving those aims, but not having to do it in a way that was putting me into a box that I didn't fit in, which was being able to do the Olympic lifting, because I just don't have the squat depth or the back to be able to do that. So there's a couple of themes in what you were saying that I do want to come back to, and that's specifically around kind of how you got into fitness around being thin and then took to strength straight away, and also about about being inspired by a strong woman and wanting to find that within the fitness industry. Before we get there, I do want to talk a little bit, because we have a lot of instructors who are listening, and many instructors who recently, during the pandemic and a little bit before, have more and more realized how important it is to build a brand in order to drive their way through their career. And I think that a lot of people sort of a few years ago would have thought, well, my fitness career will be going and working for a David Lloyd or a Virgin, and they will provide me with a constant source of PT revenue, or they'll provide me with a slot on the timetable. And that was a given, right? And that's all. The table's been flipped, and that certainly doesn't work anymore. And everyone is much more of the understanding that building your own brand, understanding who you are and where you want to go is super important for actually having a career in fitness. So you got into it 5 years ago. You have a career that a lot of people would be super jealous and enviable of. And I know that it's been a lot of hard work, but how did you come so far so fast? What would you put it down to?
So I'm actually going to rewind a little bit from when I first started out, and I sort of shared, I was very scared about trying to carve my way in this industry, because the language, still in London at that time, was very much around toning, and, abs definitely equaled fitness. And
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of far away from what I deemed to be fitness. It's like, fit for what? Fit for a photo shoot, or
Yep.
fit for life? And that kind of attitude I really felt passionately about, but there wasn't a lot of people talking about it. And I sought a lot of advice from a great network in London of people. Some gave me, I think, some great advice, some with great intent actually gave me some terrible advice, and I'm really proud that I didn't take it, because there was
What
one.
was the terrible advice?
Yeah,
I have to
I'm
know.
going to say that first. I won't name who
Yeah,
gave
yeah, yeah, yeah. We weren't throwing anyone under the bus, but I'm curious to know what it was.
it. Really good intent, but so as a woman who is trying to promote and carve their way in an industry via strength training, you can imagine when bingo wings was still the chat, I was
Mm.
going to find this difficult. And they said, the advice they said to me on my Instagram, they said, if you want to talk to this woman that you want to train and educate her about the benefits of strength training, you've got to stop posting all these big lifts. You can't show them all of your training, because you're going to scare them off.
The whole, but muscles cause size, and no one wants size, and all this rubbish that has been perpetuated within the industry for years and years and years.
Exactly. And they were like, well, actually, I think you should dilute what you do to serve, to be better serving their language, to
Yeah.
talk about, toning and lower reps and higher reps and lower weights, and that's strength training. And I thought, but it isn't.
Yeah.
It isn't strength. It might be, if you're a total beginner, there are obviously elements that you need to master in terms of foundational movement patterns. But all I could see was like these pulses and this sort of bar style thing being talked about as strength training.
Mm.
There was this,
Yeah. Like standing at the bar and just doing little leg flutters.
which
You know
by the
what? I
way is
actually
bloody hard.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I'm not poo-pooing that as a training style.
No.
It's just a different type of training style, right? But yeah,
It's
bar
very
classes are
endurance.
bloody hard.
Yeah, I've been to one.
Yeah.
I went to a wonderful woman in London, Ashley Verma. She runs a studio called Define, and I went to go to her class, and oh my God, I can't tell you the second.
Yeah, I've
Like,
been humbled a couple of times. Once in a hot Pilates class and once in a bar class where I was like blowing out. And I consider myself to be pretty fit, but yeah, ouch. Anyway, sorry, we digress.
I agree with you. That's not me. That's not me being harsh about bar. It's very, very difficult. But as a training style, it wasn't sort of where I was at, and it was
Mhm.
around the time where sort of Instagram had started. I've got this account, I'm posting. People are starting to interact with me. Like, what's she doing? That's weird. And it was around the strong, not skinny
Mm.
hashtag. And I remember it getting big, and it was just strength training started to be like this thing, and it wasn't really, like I said, but it never really, it just always grated on me, because I thought, well, why is there this? You have to be strong or skinny.
Right.
I couldn't work it out, because I was like, well, I have been skinny, I'm
Mm.
still, or there are other people genetically that are set up differently to me, and it always grated on me, and I always thought, well, I'm going to park it for now. I'm going to ride this, development of strength training and see where I get to. And actually, I found, and this would definitely be my advice to anyone in the industry, speaking my authentic truth
Right.
and mission and attitude has been what has got me to where I am now. And no, I might not be the most, popular. I might not have 1 million followers on Instagram like Chrissy Seller or, these other people that are owning that real global market who are doing a fantastic job and encouraging lots of people to train. Actually, I don't need 1 million people to have a fantastic business. And actually, I always saw myself as, yes, having an online platform as a form to communicate and try to inspire and encourage women. And yes, there's an opportunity that you can make money via, is that online coaching or collaborating with brands. But I always wanted to myself, I will never be described as an influencer. It could be described as a part of what I do, fine, a person of influence, but I'm a personal trainer. And that's what I wanted to ensure, that I was on the gym floor, I was learning, I was authentic, I was in front of people every single day. And just what I experienced there, I was then able to share with people that maybe I couldn't physically get to. So I guess that was my start. I started talking about, hey girls, you should strength train. Actually, what about this? And people started going, wow, actually, I never thought about that. And wow, as soon as I did a deadlift today, and oh my God, there's this weird feeling of like empowerment of doing something that you didn't think you could. And God, I much prefer it to running. And it was, I always said to myself, I wanted to wave this little flag in the corner, no matter how big or small my following was, just to say, hey, listen, you don't have to do that. You want, you can come and do this. And no judgment either way. I believe everyone should strength train, but like you said, there's lots of different ways in which you can do it. And that could be style, location, community, online, offline, this hybrid model now. And there's, so many amazing, like what you've created with Shift, right? With Lift, people can learn to lift at home. You don't even have to go to a gym anymore. So that, I'd say, for me was the making of me. And that's why I'm sort of spoken about now as sort of I feel a bit like a twat saying it, but, a pioneer of industry, right? In that I didn't do what everyone else was doing. I think Joe Wicks is fantastic. It's not for me.
That's the most diplomatic way of Joe Wicks described. Me too. Yeah.
I'm all about, if people are inspired and moving and they're safe and it's sustainable, I'm all for it. It doesn't have to be with me. There's something out there for everyone.
I completely agree. We've actually talked, a lot of the guests that we've had on this podcast have often said the same thing, which is basically that you just can't get anywhere, or there's nowhere worth going if you aren't going to be your authentic self. And it's kind of niching down and appreciating that you don't have to be for everyone. And I think it's something that I've repeated with a number of guests. It's like, if you try and be for everyone, then you just end up being for no one, right? And some people manage to do it, and some, like Joe Wicks and some super successful people, manage to kind of be that personality where they can resonate with everyone. But that's really difficult for most people and probably out of reach. But that doesn't mean that you can't sort of niche down to understand who you are and the change you want to be, and then reach those people in particular.
Exactly. And honestly, if I tried to be, a different style than I naturally am, it would be exhausting. It's hard enough as it is. So I think it's, I always remind myself, I'm not for everyone and everyone's not for me. And I truly believe that I can help people through my experience and through professional application of everything I've learned, and apply it at the Foundry.
It's a tough thing to be, right? Because when you're a trainer, you want everyone that comes to your class to have a great experience. And then you can kind of dilute that down into, I want everyone to like me. And then that becomes a thing that kind of gnaws away at the back of you. But the reality is that, like, everybody likes different things. Do you like everyone? No. Do you think badly of someone you don't like? No, you just don't like them. Like, that's not your cup of tea, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's hard as well to accept. Maybe in my older days, I'm 36 now. I fully accept that that's going to be okay. And you just, it's one of the biggest things I wrote in my book, Lift Yourself, was around, from a training perspective and in business professionally, just you cannot worry about what anyone else thinks. Because you'll just waste loads of time. Crack on with the people that are inspired and are working with you, and the networks that you can learn from, and let them get on with what they're getting on with. It'd be
human nature though, right? Like you have a class of 20 people and 18 people walk out happy, and 2 people look like they had a terrible time, and all you can do is think, oh God, what did I do?
Yeah, it's so a classic example of this. I was actually talking to Ben, one of the co-founders at the Foundry yesterday. We had a class, an outdoor class that we've been running, and we got 2 reviews for it. One was 5 stars. Oh my God, I love the Foundry, everything about it. It was fantastic. The vibe, blah, blah, blah. Second review, 1 star. It was a terrible experience. No, the weights were too heavy for me. Blah, blah. So you've got the same environment, and
Yeah.
2 people that would tell 10 friends how amazing it was, and another person that's going to tell 10 friends it was the worst experience ever. And you've got to take that on the chin a little bit.
Mm,
I, you know what it's like from, your, what you do, and we cannot please everyone,
yeah.
and I'm probably more interested to understand why the 1 star. But even more interested than that, the people that gave me 3 or 4 stars, because they liked us. It was
Mm,
just quite good enough. The 1 star's never going to come back.
yeah.
It was so far away from what they
Yeah.
expected.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's the 3 and 4 stars that you think, oh, hang on a minute, how could we adapt to make you want to come back to us?
Yeah, completely. So on that note, kind of about sort of understanding who you are and who you're for. Now, you've talked about the fact that when you started off in the fitness industry, you didn't see, or you had some inspiring sort of female role models in certain elements, but you didn't necessarily see yourself reflected. And you also talked a little bit about how when you were running, it was all about being thin, and then you found lifting and it got into being strong. Talk to me a little bit about how it feels now to probably be not to probably be, to be a role model for women in the industry that are looking to focus on strength and not on purely aesthetics or on being thin or on being lean and being toned. Like, is that because I think that all people within the fitness industry struggle with body image. Women struggle with it more because just generally in society, like the expectations are so different. And is that something that you came to gradually? Like, do you feel now that you're completely comfortable in your skin, or do you still have moments where you sometimes feel a little bit unconfident, or are you now like totally in the zone of where you are?
Yeah, so
That was a terrible way of asking the question. The question is, do you ever have self-doubt? How's that?
well, the short answer to that is yes, always. I don't think that's ever going to go. But I feel quite grateful that I'm in a position now where my body confidence is significantly better than it used to be. Like, it used to be really bad, like really bad. I look back at that woman and think, oh God, that was stressful for you. And I think that maybe men as well, a lot of women have that journey in their lives, and maybe it's just I've not given up, but I'm just exhausted by it. And I
Mm.
describe myself as being content now. Not every day do I feel incredible, amazing. Obviously, women as well, we have the wonderful thing as the menstrual
Oh
cycle.
yeah, I don't have to deal with that.
A nightmare to manage and deal with. So every day brings its challenges, but generally, on the whole, I'm absolutely content. And the funny thing, I was actually talking to someone this week about the pressures of social media. Like, I've always said, social media will be a tool for communicating, not my everything, because
Hmm.
when Instagram finally goes, which it will, maybe not in my life,
Right.
I don't know, but we all remember MySpace, and that's not in my life
Yeah,
today.
and we will link to Laura's Instagram in this because Laura has a very active Instagram, and so when you talk about this, I think it's you're talking as someone who invests a lot of time in making sure that your Instagram is something of value.
I try to, yeah, and I try to be really, really honest, and not in a honest way of crying down, down at the, there is a filter, there is
Mm,
boundaries. I do keep, a level of privacy to myself, but I try to repeat the same messages and try and show an insight into how do I walk my talk on a daily basis. And I see a lot on Instagram. I see a lot of sort of women that are big on Instagram, that are we're sort of going through this trend, body confidence, body positivity,
mm,
all this thing. And I don't believe, I mean, you could play this back to me in 5 years and I'm not doing it, but I don't ever believe I'm going to be that person that's going to take a photo of a fat roll or my cellulite and go, oh, I have cellulite too, it's okay. I don't connect with that message.
Right. There's that trend right now of doing the side by side where one's someone slouching or bending over slightly and they've got a bit of a fat roll, and the other one's of them doing a booty pop. And they're like, same person. It's like, well, no kidding. But I get where you're going from this, but now this is turning into like just yet another form of making it all about aesthetics. It's like, look at how ugly I can look in this photo on the left, but look at how hot I am on the photo on the right.
also on that, and this might be me just being, I don't know, a little bit, I'm not sure about it.
Mm-hmm.
The photo that is meant to be worse is actually fantastic.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
As well, you've not really gone for it there. You've sort of held a little bit back, so you're sort of happy with both. But
well, you know that person still took 100 photos of the bad version and chose the least bad, or the bad that they were comfortable putting out to the world.
Exactly, and I guess from my perspective, I just try to show myself as naturally and authentically as I can, and I'll post the damn photo if I've got 5 chins or 1 chin. If I like the photo, to be honest, and it's that deep. And I'm sure actually, if I looked back and I looked at my photo, I go, oh gosh, yeah, you're right. There is some cellulite there, or oh gosh, when I do that, there is some wobble, or whatever it is. You know, my weightlifting belt. Nothing is that flattering really in this, apart from that one still under the professional lighting at an event that you went to. So I just think it's about posting it and just don't mention it. Like I say, when I'm most confident with my body is when I'm not thinking about it.
Right. Yeah, because at the end of the day, those posts, well intentioned as they might be, they just still focus everything in on specific aesthetics and a look, right? And at the end of the day, like if you're someone who, and I consider myself in this bucket as well. I have been through times of worrying a lot about what I look like, and I still care, right? Like I still like feel better about myself when I'm a little bit leaner, but I've managed to kind of put that into the back seat, and now the driver's seat is I'm about to turn 40, and I'm really happy that I still have the ability to do all of these things that I can do. There's certain things that I can't go skiing, back won't take it, can't do deadlifts, but you know, I can still go and do a class, or I can run around, or I can go on a hike and all this sort of stuff. And that's what I value. And I've just stopped trying to let the aesthetic side of things have any influence on my happiness as a person. It still does. Like I'm not going to suggest like I'm enlightened and I've got away from it, but I try to make it not something I focus on, and I make it something I never talk about or focus with other people on.
Exactly, yeah. And this is the thing. Like I agree with you. I want to look good. I'm human. We all want to look naked. We want to go look good on holiday. We want to look good in the gym. We want to wear our clothes well. Like I'm not suggesting that I'm completely just ignoring it and whatever. You know, I still definitely want to look good, but it's just my values have changed. And there was one time, it was about 2 or 3 years ago, that I was training, and you know, I would suggest that people would describe me as quite athletic. You know, I've got quite a muscular frame. When I train, my shoulders, my everything gets quite big. So I was training really well, and someone came to me and said, "Oh gosh, Laura, you look like you've lost weight." And I was like, "Oh my God, really? That's awful." And they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. She was like, I've never seen a woman just be.
How I just gave her a compliment.
Yeah, I was like, no, that is. I was like, really? Where? Oh no, gosh. So actually, you know, and I thought, oh, I'm really proud of you today in my head, because you didn't, you know, go, oh yes, thank you, being thin is better. No, actually, I'm just doing what I am, and you know, I feel happy. I'm the most content I've ever been at about 8 kilos, 10 kilos more than my goal weight, whenever that was, when I was running everywhere.
Yeah, with much better knees, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me about like the woman that come to your class back when you started and the woman that you come now. Like, have you seen a change in the overall industry and the way that women are approaching fitness, group fitness, lifting, all that sort of stuff in the time that you've been with? Because I think I have, but I'm really curious to know you, because you're obviously much closer to it than me.
Totally. I think, well, the sheer number of us. So I think, you know, that the statistics show, I think I saw the statistics for EMD and UK Active, that strength training as a percentage has grown over the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years. I think CrossFit's had a lot to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got more female role models that are of a more athletic build, and we're starting to talk more about the benefits of strength training. And I guess particularly with here at the Foundry, I was the first female employee, really, first time full-time coach, and now we've got 6-7 female coaches out of a coaching team of like 18. So actually we're about 30-40% of the coaching team here, and I think there's this evolution of just this acceptance, and this actually there is women can have an authority in strength training. You've got women that you see in CrossFit, like you see Tia Claire Toomey, who's competed at the highest level in Olympic weightlifting for Commonwealth for Australia, and she's won the CrossFit Games. You've got British women like Donna Moore, she's world's strongest woman. She can deadlift 240 kilos and the rest. And we're just starting to look at these women and go, wow, like they're absolutely capable to be stronger than most men. So I think it has taken time, and I did fight that a little bit, or being the only woman in a lot of environments. But I guess for me, I've always been used to that. I was the only girl at football at school. I was the only girl in my judo club, so I'm used to that. So I'm used to having to sort of fight my way through a little bit. So it doesn't really bother me. I think I'm very fortunate that the network of men that I work with are huge supporters of women. Ben and Dave, and thinking a few years ago when I started here, the guys ex-rugby, Mark Highland, Ali McKenzie, those guys are 5 times my size, but they're big friendly giants. I've learned so much from them, and they empower me to take the lead. And I think it's just you've got to in order to be it, you've got to see it. And I guess as I sort of hastily refer to myself as a pioneer, I sort of carve my own path a little bit, the unknown, and hopefully I've opened the door for lots of other women to come with me, and hopefully that they'll rise and go and do their own things. So I think it's always got to have someone that takes the lead, and I think there's lots of women in our industry that have done so.
Well, I think you have, like, speaking as someone who's been following you through this journey, I think that you should feel proud of yourself, because you definitely have had an impact on the woman that you work with, and also just the people that you connect with through social media, in terms of role modeling a type of fitness that they may not have seen before. So on that note, where are the gaps that you think exist in the industry at the moment? Like, where are the places that you still see either a lack of representation for things you need to see represented, or just a bit of an industry failing that you think needs to be taken care of? Say, as the fitness industry comes back, right? Like, we're all in a position where we've just had this big hiatus. Digital fitness has become this thing. We're getting back into live fitness. Are there any sort of parts of the industry that are still sort of lacking or falling behind that you think need to be dealt with?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think when I look at the industry as a whole, as with every industry, the fitness industry is a commercial industry. We have to make money to survive, and it's slightly strange making money from people's health and well-being. And that's really what I see it as, trying to, like you say, training people for life, so that when they're 50, 60, whatever, they can still do these things. And
that's something where COVID may have a long-term sort of positive impact on the overall industry, right? Because now people are aware, well, if the next pandemic comes along, then the best way to not die is to be fit. And like, put that way, but it has resonated with people. Like, people now realize that if they want to fight off any type of illness, but also, the ones that were there before, right? Diabetes, obesity, heart disease, all that sort of stuff. They're all diseases of inactivity. And that can be helped by any type of activity, whatever it is, whether it be lifting, whether it be walking, whether it be sport, like Zumba, whatever they do, it's good. There is no bad movement.
Exactly. And I do very much agree with that. But what I do struggle with is exercise selection, intensity, and frequency. Now, one of the things that we stand by at the Foundry is our strength programming, right? So we have progressive programming that is following a plan. There's only so many things that we want people to hip hinge, squat, just leg work, single arm work. push-ups, there's only so many things that are useful and effective and
Yep.
efficient in terms of developing your health and fitness. But the industry as fitness is, here we go, sex sells.
Mm.
And the fun, interesting things are always going to be up there. So I remember when I started in the industry, there was a particular gym chain, a boutique gym chain that did like 7-day shred. And I always thought that is so irritating, because
Right.
that is communicating that A, you need to shred, B, that 7 days will complete that for you, and
Yeah.
C, that it's the exercise that is going to get,
Right.
get you lean. It's not. So, I think there's the misconception that I would love is for sort of the hit, the high intensity stuff for people, just to appreciate that actually, to make progress, to develop your strength, actually bull bagging yourself every single day at that top, that peak heart rate zone is actually not the best for
Yeah.
you. There's only so much stress that we can manage, and depending on your goals, and if your goals are to tone up or reduce your body fat to achieve fat loss, you've got to address the other things in your life. There's no exercise that will do that for you. There's no
Right. You got to have sleep. You got to have nutrition. You got to have appropriate stress levels that are dealt with through both exercise and sleep and eating. And you need to have recovery days, right? I think that's definitely a shift in the industry. I think that people at the top of the industry are definitely doing that. Like if I look to say Beachbody, who did P90X and Insanity, right? Which were, smash yourself every day and then get shredded. Even they now program in recovery days to their workouts. Like I think the industry has changed, but you're right. As the industry changes, it takes a while for that perception to come down to the average user, and the average user can still be sold in by, like, I take F45. F45 do absolutely horrific marketing for the fitness industry, but I really like F45. I go to it and I enjoy it because it's just a circuit class. It's a circuit class with a whole lot of equipment that you can just rock up to, smash yourself and go. I don't go to the strength days because I don't think you should be working that intensely and lifting heavily, but I love the cardio days like battle ropes, slam balls, kettlebells, jumping, plyo. I love it. But the way they do their or Barry's doing Hell Week, again, terrible, just bad messaging. And this is nothing against F45 and Barry's, who I use and I think are great workouts, but I get why they do it, right? Because at the end of the day, before and after, like, get your wedding body, get your holiday body, get yourself in shape for New Year's. Unfortunately, that sells. And so the industry is forever caught in this tension between knowing full well that that's a bad message and knowing full well that that will sell a membership and getting stuck in the middle, right?
This is the thing, like, Dave and I was sort of talking about our messaging, and I look after the social media for the gym, for the Foundry, and it is the most boring message to say, hey, join our gym, it's rather expensive and you'll be doing probably the same 7 movement patterns over and over again for the rest of your life. And some days you will not enjoy it, some days you might. That's the worst marketing message I've ever heard. So
even though it's the one that will get you the results in the long term, right? At the end of the day.
Exactly. But we come from a place where we understand. We've taken that journey. I've certainly every single fitness mistake. I've done Hell Week. I've smashed myself at F45. Every day because I felt like more was better for me. And also,
and the more I hurt, the
there's
harder I've worked and the more calories I've burned.
You're in this state of stress constantly. I used to stress myself out, and I'd go to work, stress myself, wouldn't recover, wonder why I felt like shit the next day. And that was sort of this self-perpetuating cycle. And then when I sort of realized, well, actually, there's some other things I can do. I can manage this intensity, and actually my body will be less inflamed.
Yeah.
And I'll get to my results quicker. But I think, there's this whole sort of miseducation and the commercialization around fast results, entertaining fitness. I more than anyone, I actually cannot wait. The next thing I want to do is go to Soul Cycle.
Yeah.
Because I want to get on a bike and I want to listen to Beyonce in the dark with a candle and have someone say, "You've got this, girl." Because
I believe in you. Let's do our 3 minutes of emotion.
I love how fitness can deliver this sense of escape. But what we can't do is rely on it as our coping. or our therapy. You know, I've definitely described fitness as being a therapy for me, but I have to manage it in a way that is sustainable, and that's where I think the gap still is in the industry. How do you make a really successful model around the message of sustainable? And I do think we're getting there.
Yeah, we are getting there. But if you talk to anybody, I've been in fitness for 20 years, and I've kind of been at a good level of fitness. I'm now getting to the age where I can say that I'm proud of the fact that I'm still fit, because I'm getting quite old. And I'm still pretty fit for my age, but that revolves around doing strength training that revolves around the same 5 simple lifts. I don't squat, I don't deadlift, but I bench press, shoulder press, I lunge, do single leg sort of stuff. But I vary it up. I vary the training protocols. Like I do, higher reps, lower reps, change the weights, but it's the same movement patterns, because I know they're the movement patterns that work. I do a couple of days cardio, and then I walk every day. And it's taken me 20 years to figure out that it's just doing the same things consistently with that real consistency, like all the time. That's what delivers the results. The same way that if you talk to anyone who has kept themselves in really good shape diet wise, the one thing that you almost always hear is they just have a diet where they eat kind of the same stuff all the time, because they know what's healthy. And if you're constantly trying to vary it up, like, novelty is really important. And I am a strong believer in buying a ClassPass membership and going to doing your classic kind of workout Monday to Friday, and then going to a soul cycle on a Saturday, or maybe a reformer Pilates, or maybe a hip hop class or whatever. Have that variance, because you need it. But yeah, it's just consistency. It's not going to be like come in, stay 7 days, even 21 days, right? Like 21 days is habit forming theoretically, but it's the fact that you form the habit that you continue. It's not the 21 days.
Exactly. And that's the is that, I totally appreciate the ClassPass model of having the ability to go to a different gym every single time, but random training, random results. If you're okay with that, all right. But I do think that if you actually want to get some sort of, I'm sure everyone's describes they've got some specific goals, you're just not going to get there. And from a commercial perspective, if we continue to encourage that, gyms are going to find it hard, because you don't know who you're going to have at your gym from one week to the next. And so that's why, from our perspective, having a class model and the 21-day challenge, etc., that we have is a great entry point. But actually, for us to have a sustainable business, we want to be able to train people for 2 or 3 years doing the same thing.
But what you guys do, and what, like, I certainly encourage any of the listeners to this podcast, because they're all instructors or trainers, is that the Foundry creates community, right? Like that messaging you said before, which was, come in and you're going to come here all the time, and you're going to do the same lifts. We're going to vary up the protocols, but you've been doing the same thing week in, week out, and you're going to like it sometimes, you're not going to like it other times, and sometimes you're going to be a bit tired. But the one bit that you missed off, which is the bit that makes it, is that you're going to have a community that you care about and that cares about you. And that's really where the kicker is, right? And I think that's something that the likes of F45 and Barry's actually do really well, right? Like, I don't love their marketing sometimes, but they create this stickiness and community where you're going because you want to be there. The instructor knows you, the other people in the class see you there, and that's what gets people in.
Yeah, and I think also, like, it's almost like in London, it's become your identity. It's like, where do you train?
Where do you train? Yeah.
What
university do you go to? What school do you go to? Where do you train?
I feel like I can know quite a lot about someone. If they say, oh yeah, I'm better, I'm going to Barry's Hell Week, I think, okay, wow, hardcore. Well, I go to CrossFit. Okay, cool. You train 5 times a week, and so there's sort of an identity attached to it. But yeah, like we said earlier, from even a personal brand perspective, I'm not for everyone, everyone's not for me. It'll be the same for the gym. We don't need 10 million, whatever the population is, to come to our gym. We just need 300 to love it. And look forward to seeing each other.
Absolutely. So now that the industry is sort of coming back from a pretty horrific year in terms of inability to work and closures, like how do you see the future? Like, what are you feeling? Are you feeling bright and happy? Are you a little bit concerned? What's your kind of state of play? This is a question that I think we'll be asking a lot of our guests as we crawl back into what will be the new normal.
Yeah, I think overarching, I'm hugely optimistic. I'm excited to get back. I think, like we said, during the time of the pandemic, more and more people are recognizing and realizing the importance of health People took up whatever running, or like you did, Will, burping on your
Do you know what? I'm actually back to that because I've had to come back to Paris and lockdown, and so I'm back to kitchen burpees. Love it.
your favorite.
My fave.
No, I've got nothing against burpees, actually. If you can't do a good burpee, what can you do? Oh yeah, I'm overarching. I'm hugely optimistic. I think it's a necessary sector that needs to do well. I'm disappointed in how it's been managed, I guess, in terms of our openings, the level of support we got. The pubs are more important than us, apparently, but okay. But I run a business, so it would be wrong of me to not be hugely concerned, because financially, people are, our members have been hit, people have lost their jobs, people have had to relocate out of London. I think here at the Foundry, myself, Ben and David and the team, with your support, actually, Will, we need to thank you for your expertise there. We've pivoted our business to have an online arm of our business. And if you'd asked us, a couple of years ago, can you ever imagine that you would be delivering your personal training
via like heavy lifting personal training via video?
Literally, like this morning, because we still got some members that, even though they're able to come to the gym, actually they could never. We picked up new members outside of London. They've got a squat rack at home. So I'm benching with someone here. There's someone here that's got one kettlebell. There's someone here that has got no weights at all. So I'm managing via the power of Zoom to still train people, still using our principles. It's still a community feel. It's very much our product, but it's online. And I think, Will, you talk about a phygital, PA. There'll be this hybrid model of a physical to online presence. But for us, 80% of our member base have returned to the gym.
Yep.
And that's pretty high. I think that's what we would expect. But we've also got members that have can come to the gym, but they actually just, wow, I really like the convenience of doing this at home. So I think we're
or a bit of both, right? Like there are times when life gets in the way and they still want to work out. Now they can do it at home, but I think the one thing that we can all agree on, and this is speaking as someone who's obviously a massive digital fitness proponent, like I believe very strongly in it and have for a long time. Nothing beats the in-person experience. But the reality is that life gets in the way, children get in the way, jobs get in the way, distance gets in the way, and like having the ability to do both those things is just really valuable.
Yeah, totally. I guess the challenge is the competition, the cost, the marketplace of online offerings. I'm a coach on Fit, which is a fantastic app. I absolutely love it, and I think it's a very different market. I don't really think the overlap between what we do in gym but the price point is just poles apart.
Right? Yeah.
£10 to £15 a month is amazing, because you feel like you're in the room with
600 plus workouts, really good trainers, exciting productions.
Exactly, and versus our £350 a month, small group PT and classes membership. It's quite poles apart. So I think commercially we've got a job to try and prove our value in quite a heavily disrupted marketplace, online and in person. And I think, like things that we do, we've sort of made reference to the 21-day challenge, is by offering us a slightly reduced barrier to entry from a cost perspective, to enable people to spend 3 weeks training with us, so they experience the difference, not just us telling them. I remember at the start of the pandemic, lots of PTs were sort of saying, oh God, I can't compete with, Joe Wicks is doing free Instagram. I was doing Instagram lives, everyone was on an Instagram live, and it was fatigue. And I kept reminding myself and other people that the one thing that you as a personal trainer or owner of a gym have is that personal connection.
Right.
You're never going to meet Joe Wicks, unlike you probably, but I, as your trainer, I know that day that you felt sad and we talked about it. I know that injury that you've got that I need to adapt for. So we've got to realize the value that we have as individuals in that smaller community, to try and, maximize on that as we open up.
Yeah, right. It's all about connection at the end of the day, because this is something we've talked about on the podcast before as well, because we're speaking to instructors, and instructors are very aware that they're competing with Fit, and they're competing with Apple Fitness, and they're competing with Peloton, and the price points of those are just so low. and the quality of instruction is high. And, there's going to be instructors on those digital platforms that move better than you, coach better than you, that maybe know more than you about exercise. But the thing they can't do is they can't go, hey, Laura, I know you're a bit down this morning. Like, how are you feeling now? Like, let's get to the end of this workout and I'm sure you'll feel better. Like, that can't happen through a mass market, huge volume platform, but that's something that a trainer or an individual that has a personal relationship can actually do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the value. And again, going back to it, the person that loves fit or Peloton, they might not be your audience. That's
Or they might still be your audience too and just do that as well.
Yeah.
I have digital memberships to like everything, but that doesn't stop me coming to the Foundry whenever I get the opportunity.
Of course. So I agree with you there. That personal relationship and it's just that trust, isn't it? I trust you with my 1 hour I've got today to my head to, develop my health and fitness. I'm going to give it to you.
Perfect. Well, that almost brings us to the end of our chat. I know that I've kept you for a full hour, and I'm grateful for that. I guess the one question that I'm going to finish with is, what is next for you personally? So not so much about the industry, but kind of you as Laura. And I know earlier you said you're not an influencer, you're a PT, but what's like the next sort of big, hairy, audacious goal that you've got, if you want to share it?
Yeah, it's a great question, and sometimes I don't ask myself this enough. I think I'm going through a period of time now where, after being in a bit of survival mode,
Yep.
I'm sort of now looking out at the landscape and going, where do I fit? And like I said, I don't want to be described as an influencer. I don't have millions of followers. I think I've got 45,000. I don't need to know 45,000 people. To enable me to have a career. So I guess that has come as a result of sort of the external things that I do. And I do have a bit of social media fatigue, I'll be honest with you. We've all been, over this time, we've been staring at our screens, we've been interacting via Zoom, whatever it is.
Haven't been able to go out and see people. So you've been interacting through the screen, which it's this weird feedback, right? And that you feel less lonely for a second, but it ultimately makes you more lonely in the long run. I had this through the halfway through point of last year. I was like living in Paris, away from my friends, away from my family. And I would just scroll through Instagram to try and feel connected to people, but that's not connection.
And I also think Instagram, it's an amazing way to communicate. Over the past year or so, Instagram has been, a tool to communicate quite serious, global issues, things like, BLM and, other things that, Instagram can sometimes be this very light-hearted, hey, workout, and other times it's really deep.
Yep.
And there is no context, there's no room for nuance. We're sort of going through this period of time of like cancel culture, of like, someone tweeted this 20 years ago, cancel them. So I do find that more than ever, I mean, I am not a controversial person on Instagram, I don't think, but I kind of go through this stage where I don't even want to be on it. And then I have to go back and remind myself, well, no, hang on a minute. You were originally on this to share your training, your experience, to try and inspire others, to, try and wave that little flag, like I said before, for others. So it's hard to block out that noise. I've written a book, I've got a podcast. I'll be doing some in-person events this year, which I'm really, really excited about. And I think, what's next for me? Getting a balance back, trying to maintain some personal boundaries. It's wonderful, all the hundreds of DMs I get, but it's not manageable for me.
No.
People see that I'm on Instagram and I'm posting, so absolutely I'm sharing life with people, but also behind that I have a full-time job. I've got 3 gyms, I've got 2 business partners, I've got a board, I've got a coaching team, my family, my friends, my partner. So there's a lot for me to try and manage, and I need to sort of just give myself, stand back a little bit from it. I would love one day to write another book. I still feel like I've got more that I want to say, having never thought I'd write a book. And
please tell me it's going to be on having great hair.
Yeah, got to be. I'm still honestly, I'm like, L'Oreal, I was with you for 5 years. But yeah, it's something to do with that. And I think, how passionate I am, about the business at the Foundry. It's more than a business for us. It's changing people's lives. And I think as we come out of this, hopefully once we're past survival mode and we can get back on our feet, we're expanding our coaching team, we're getting new members in. That really is the dream, to, new sites, new locations. We're developing still our digital platform. We're still learning as we go there. So I think success professionally for me is the Foundry rocking and rolling where it was, and on a route to expansion. And personally, I just want to make sure, like I said, that I'm looking after myself, because I think probably a lot of people listening will, the antisocial hours, and people think we're always in the gym and we must be really fit. Actually, it's the last thing on my priority list. Train myself. So sometimes you're a very successful PT that is very unfit.
Yep.
So yeah, just trying to manage that. But I guess once I'm over this period of social media fatigue, I think I will, get back on that and start to try and repeat that message and collaborate with people that I love. And I've not yet, I feel like the most antisocial social media person. I've not even not been to one event. Everyone's like, come to this event. I'm like, oh no, I'm busy. I haven't had the emotional capacity for it.
I think that is a completely reasonable place to be in at this point in time.
Yeah.
And let's just, the fingers crossed that that you can get away for a bit of the summer. Let's hope that green list expands, baby. And
should we go to Brunei and the south of Sandwich? Which
you haven't booked a trip to Portugal?
I haven't. No, I haven't. To be honest, I know it's going on. And
for those listening from other countries, Portugal is on the UK's green list, which means that there's no quarantine. This is why this conversation has come up.
I haven't. I'm waiting for Ibiza to be a goer for me, and make sure that the team are up and running at the gym, and then I'll think about taking some time out, because I feel a bit pale at the moment.
Fair enough. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Laura. I really appreciate you taking time to talk. Good luck with everything as we get back into the swing of things. And I'm sure that I will see you again, and hopefully we'll chat again on the podcast at some point and hear about all the new things you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Will. I really appreciate your time.
Cheers.